Kyle Shanahan. He finally had a press conference, felt up to it over the weekend, and it was very educational, both in terms of football, but also the accident that led to all of this. So here it is. Here's a portion of what Kyle Shanahan shared with the media over the weekend.
So, guys, you guys probably surprised to see me. I was upset with practice. Saw Clay getting ready. I went to talk to him. He was getting ready for this. I told him I'd do it. So, go ahead.
What kind of improvements have you noticed?
I'm doing real good. My body feels good. Just got to get this annoying cast off. My ribs feel good, except when I sneeze. And my head feels so much better. Concussions do linger a little bit. The only things I really deal with now is just headaches and fatigue. But that's why I'm not always exactly on the same routine, but pretty damn close.
Your first day out there, I think, without shades?
It's not lights that bother me. I had to wear shades to protect scars and stuff, but I got all my stitches out so I can put tape over it now, and so the tape protects it.
Give a percentage of like what you're able to do as opposed to when you're all the way back.
I think about how much percentage you guys give media. How much percentage you give media?
That's a big percentage.
Well, then 0%. As far as like the important stuff, I feel it's about 100%. The biggest thing like I've learned with this stuff is, just when you deal with like fatigue and headaches and stuff is if I kind of do everything, I kind of pay for it in some ways later. That's like the routine I found out. So like I've really tried to eliminate stuff that kind of that I would say just the fake work stuff, like, which is a big important thing, but like talking to the media, having to break down the team every day, doing stuff like that, I've kind of taken it a little bit easier on. Because one thing I haven't missed anything of film. I watch every single play with the coaches after, with the players. I have had a few team meetings. Normally I do it every day, but I do lose a little when I do stuff like that, so I've just picked and choose a little bit more. But as far as the film and everything, being out there for all the practice periods of going against each other, those are, to me, the most important things of my job, and I've been able to do those every day.
Your intention to coach the first preseason game next week, or is that still kind of TBD?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm doing the same stuff, guys. I just, I try not to come in here every single day, because I feel if I did, that would take, I want to be able to pull off my normal routine, which is watching hours and hours of tape and getting to the walkthrough at night, being able to watch stuff after that. Eventually I will get there. I would have told you I was there 7 days ago, and they're like, just chill, wait to see how you feel tomorrow. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I didn't say that, because sometimes it's a good day and then sometimes the next day is a little bit harder. But as far as the stuff that I think is the most important parts of my job, I've been doing that since day one.
Such a grinder for so long. Is it weird having a bit of an abbreviated schedule for yourself?
It is. I was a little insecure about it at first. Been a guy like all of us are that it could be deathly sick and we're still insecure to go home. So that's kind of just how we are. So it was hard on me. But when I saw kind of the results of some of it, it became easier. What people tell you is kind of right. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll be able to tough through that. And you kind of can tough through anything. But then when you pay for it the next day and you're not as good as something else, you start to be like, all right, I didn't have to tough through that because it made me worse the next day. So those are things I've had to learn a little bit to be better at.
I wasn't there the other day. Kyle, are you mad at yourself for getting in the situation?
Yeah, anytime you cause an accident that can be avoided, you'd feel pretty stupid. Especially when you have a chance to hurt someone else. I think you get mad when you get a ticket at yourself. So it's kind of the same. Things that I think everyone's done to a degree what I've done. Dropping a phone and falling all the way to my back seat to where I have to fully take my eyes off the road. It's something that I normally wouldn't do. I've had autopilot for 9 years, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. And who knows what happened when I turned around, whether it malfunctioned or whether I knocked it off. That's something I don't know yet. But regardless, it is always your fault, whether you're an autopilot or not. You can't take your eyes off the road. It's a partnership driving. You don't just turn it over to a computer. And it's a good lesson, no matter how comfortable I am with that I believe someday could save my life or someone else's, or it's really helped me have perspective on that stuff.
Returning to coaching in games and noise tolerance, will you still be on the sidelines, or is it going to be?
Yeah, like I answered all the questions earlier. That was like the first couple of days out of practice, and depending on what side I was standing on, and AC/DC hurt a lot more than some smoother hip hop. But I think those days are over. No noise doesn't bother me like it was. I actually have two symptoms I feel like, and that's headaches and fatigue. And that's all I'm feeling right now.
Can you speak a little bit about the support that you received from Raheem and Clay and Chris throughout this process, and some of the veterans that stepped up to?
Yeah, that's actually been the easiest thing for me. When I had it, I would have been shocked if I wasn't able to come here and be able to do everything. It's my first concussion. I didn't really realize how long they would last. They gave me dates and I kind of laughed. They don't give you dates, but they tell you how long to prepare. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way that'll last that long. So I was actually surprised. And It's what they told me from the beginning, so I won't be surprised again. But like each day, just watching our building, all our coaches, starting with Chris to Clay to Raheem to Brant to everybody, everyone upstairs, our players, it made it really easy for me not to worry about me having to do something. Our guys are awesome. We have a pretty well-oiled machine. We've been here for this is our 10th year, and those guys made it very easy for me to not do anything stupid.
Will you change your perspective at all on when players are dealing with concussions and haven't gone through it just in the way
Yeah, no
time?
doubt. I've been told so much by these guys, don't compare sports concussion to an accident like this, and I'm starting to realize that now. But yeah, just little things like when they label things like whether it's severe or mild, and you hear someone has a mild one, I'm like, oh, all right, well, it might be one game, but usually that's two. And then you kind of learn those are just words. Each one's a little bit different, and I definitely can relate to how scary it is when you don't know if you will throw right again. But it's definitely made me more educated on it. Usually I just listen, tell me when, okay, and I move on. But I understand it a lot better and what guys got to go through and the protocol to get back, which there's not a protocol for me on paper, but it's really cool to be in a building that kind of majors in that type of a profession that knows what to do with those things. So all the people that I need help from, it was already built in here, and they got a lot of experience with it, and it's been really good for me.
Certain thing that you knew you had to do that kind of proved that you were back or were very close to the team meeting maybe we heard about?
The team meeting was a big step for me. It was just, the concussion stuff just was weird. You feel just more emotional and stuff. People don't take this the wrong way, but I joke with my wife. I'm like, no, it feels like you're in menopause. It's different, and you're emotional and things. So it's different to get in front of groups and things like that. But once you do that and you get past the hard parts of it, it becomes pretty easy. You just got to get back to getting used to it. But the main things of getting over. I thought after my first team meeting, I was like, perfect. I'm out of the woods. I'm good, and felt good most of that day. But then it hit me real bad that night, and then the next day, and I was like, all right, maybe I don't want to do that every day yet. And that's kind of how everything's gone in this. And I can't tell you guys how close it is. I'm getting there. There's no doubt I will be there. From what I do with the team, I kind of already feel there. So,
is this session that you're having with us now part of your goal to kind of push yourself as much as you can?
Definitely. That's why they tell me not to plan anything. That's why, yesterday, it was like a week ago, I'm like, guys, I'm doing media tomorrow. And then I was so glad they didn't tell you guys, because I woke up the next morning, I'm like, there's no way I can do it right now. And then I didn't tell anyone today, but then I just felt like doing it. And I want to do it. I want to get back to fully 100% being normal. And unfortunately, this is part of 100% being normal. So.
You decided that this morning, or was it even during practice?
No, it was more during practice. It was actually more when I was trying to talk Clay about practice, and he was ignoring me, getting ready to talk to you guys. I was like, oh, I'll go do it. I got it right now. So.
Now realize that you can delegate, that you haven't been able to do, that maybe it's worth delegating in the future, that, okay, I don't need to do it. So many things.
Yes, but I've also done a lot more of that in the last few years than people realize. Last year I didn't call one play in preseason. I don't always call plays out on the field. I've started most of that since Clay's gotten here. It's been nice to not have to go to staff meetings. We've had some staff meetings where we just go over injuries and stuff and things like that, which I'm always at. And, I've missed those, so I could actually focus on a few more film things. So that's been good. And just knowing that if you didn't even come and you just watched a practice, that it's going to go pretty much the same as if you were there. You don't know that till you see it. And that's why I can't speak highly enough about all the guys around here.
Does the concussion impact your ability to watch film? Does it bother you after a lot of film watching?
It did more at first. I've never had vision issues and stuff, but it's always I'm usually a guy who doesn't get that overstimulated. I can handle a lot of things. And now when I do too much film at first, I kind of have to take a little more breaks. They make fun of me because I never get bathroom breaks, and now I kind of do. Halfway through, I tell the coaches to go out. I take 10 minutes and just relax my eyes a little bit and made it easier. But I haven't done that probably in the last 5 film sessions, so it just shows how much better I'm getting. And that's why I believe that whenever you use words, it can be way off. But I feel like most of the concussion part to me is gone, except just fatigue and headaches. But being overstimulated, things like that, I'm doing a lot better at.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. There it is. That's Kyle Shanahan, and that was largely, almost exclusively, either about the accident or even more of it. It was just about him.
Right.
Like how he's doing, how he's able to handle certain situations. Again, by no stretch is it perfect, and it's probably never going to be the way it was again, because it sounds like he's made some changes in terms of how he wants to go about certain things in the process. Maybe updating them, maybe making them a little bit healthier for him and the other coaches around him and whatnot. But I do think that this press conference had, even though he didn't say it, there was an overarching theme that I think we can at least reasonably arrive at this conclusion. Kyle Shanahan will be coaching in Australia when the 49ers play the Rams.
Right. He'll be coaching this week when the preseason actually kicks off.
Right. But, of course, won't be calling plays. And
right.
I mean the full Monty win in Australia against the Rams. Kyle Shanahan's going to be good to go.
No doubt. And I do think that it's interesting to hear him talk about the fact that he never had a concussion. And so he's thinking, they tell him it's going to be this amount of time. And he's like, no, it won't be. And then here we are now, 3 or 4 weeks into it. And he still is not 100%. He still has, headaches and fatigue. And those are kind of the last stages of what he's trying to go through to get all the way back. And so I just wonder how severe the concussion was, because normally you have an athlete, you get concussed and you're in the protocol and maybe it's a week and you come back, and this has now been a month. And so he still is going through everything he's going through. So I wonder just how severe it must have been.
Yeah, but then again, also remember athletes and the way that they're wired. In other words, if an athlete had a concussion like Kyle is experiencing right now, would he pass the protocol and play? He might. That's a question for one of those independent neurologists.
Right.
I would love to know the answer to that. We all just go, protocol, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and then you can play. But we don't really know what that means. Does that mean symptom-free?
Yes.
And how do you track that?
That's the part of it. So it's symptom-free.
But are you being honest? Like, players are not honest with their symptoms.
Exactly. As a former high school coach, I had a guy on my volleyball team who actually had a history of concussions, and he took a down ball to the head and he got concussed in practice. It was his third concussion. And so he had to go through every day, are you symptom-free? And you can't take the next step until you are actually able to do that. But to your point, if you're a pro football player and they ask you, are you dizzy? Do you have a headache? And you're dizzy and you have a headache, but you say no, then you can go ahead and, take the next step, because how are they going to tell if you're dizzy or not?
Yeah, I didn't know. Honestly, with the technology they have now, I didn't know if there's a way to track these symptoms beyond just the words of the participant. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe there is. I have no idea. But that would be a weird fight. Someone's like, the machine says you're dizzy.
Right.
But I'm not.
I don't think there's a dizzy machine.
The machine says you are.
Right. I think it's more about can you actually go through and now if you're vomiting, then clearly you're not over the concussion, or, if Kyle Shanahan's unable to make it through a full practice and he's like, the smooth hip hop is good, but the AC/DC was, kind of giving me problems. It's you still are going through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there were football answers. For sure, there were football answers that weren't just about the concussion and his health and sort of how he's handling all of these situations. Right now, the top question is about Nick Bosa, who I think missing his 4th consecutive day. But this is what Shanahan said about Nick.
He was doing great, and then he got sore just going through some of the individuals. So, you wish that didn't happen. But no, there's no concern to where something's happened that is a big setback or anything. But we're waiting until that soreness goes away and evaluating why the soreness has happened. But I still feel pretty good about that.
Okay, right. Right now, I would say this is across the board, and then you all get to decide whether they're telling the truth or not. But they are saying that a large number of the injuries, and in particular the ones to the big names, because McCaffrey sat out today. Mike Evans has been sitting out for a while now. Nick Bosa is sitting out. And the 49ers are largely saying that just about all of this is precautionary. And that they're just, anytime there's anything, they are going to play this conservative. I don't know what's obviously going on inside these guys' bodies, but the Niners are at least publicly expressing very little to no concern with regard to those big names who are sitting out.
Right, and it makes sense when you look at exactly what they're doing in terms of camp, and they've made a little bit of a tweak where they actually have a jog-through day now, where it used to be, you go hard, you take a day off, and now it's a couple of hard practices, a jog-through, and then one more hard practice, then an off day. And so I do think that the staff, whether it's Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch or the medical team, they're all trying to look at what we all talk about, which is, why are you hurt so much more than most other teams? And that might be a myth. It might be the reality, but I do think that they're trying to figure it out.
Well, he was actually asked, is this a normal thing for camp, what you're looking at right now?
It feels pretty normal, give or take 3. I think it does happen a number of times in camp. We also have a number of guys coming into camp that didn't go on PUP that we weren't trying to throw back in there right away. And that stuff's always frustrating in camp. That's why you sometimes want it a little bit longer. The thing that frustrates you the most is when you lose a guy. There's one guy like that right now, which we've had to grieve for a little bit, and then you got to figure out how to adjust and move on from it.
By the way, he's obviously speaking of Ricky Pearsall, and he had more to say about losing him.
I mean, losing Ricky was a real big deal. We've had a number of injuries in camp, but that's really the only one that's actually been not just a camp injury. And losing a player like Ricky is a huge deal. It ties to everybody. So you'd hope for Stribling, you hope for Mike, you hope for that whole group. A lot of people have to step up, but no one here is wired exactly how Ricky is. They're all a little bit different, so you do lose a big part of what we were planning on. And that's where guys do have to step up. That's what gets frustrating when guys like Stribling, tweak a muscle and stuff, because, you want guys to step up, but you got to train them to do it, they got to work to do it, and they got to be out there to be able to do it at an NFL level, which is coming real fast.
Okay, so, I mean, to listen to him talk, it sounds like, and he said, give or take 2 or 3 or whatever, but, I'm only judging this right now because we're sort of triggered by it, and I'm looking at things that are happening at other camps around America right now. I know we're hypersensitive to it. It does feel pretty normal. It feels like, there's a lot of teams that are missing guys and being conservative with veteran name players, et cetera, et cetera. The Niners have lost 1 player for the year. There are a lot of teams who have lost multiple. Right. I mean, Washington lost their left tackle yesterday for most of the season at least. That's monstrous.
No doubt.
It's a monstrous loss for them.
And you lose Ricky Pearsall, and that's not nothing, but you drafted a guy, and you brought in Mike Evans, and you've got Kirk and Robinson, and you brought back Debo. And so I do think that a 49er team that doesn't use their wide receivers a ton, maybe they'll use it more if they have better ones, but I do think that McCaffrey would be bigger, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy, obviously, Fred Warner, and I don't want to list all the players who I think would be more devastating to lose ahead of Ricky Pearsall, because I don't want to undermine Ricky's impact, but there are more important people that you still have.